From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Friday, October the 27th, 2023. Heavy rocket fire from Gaza continued today at central Israel, with barrages launched at Tel Aviv and the surrounding areas. One rocket hit an apartment building, injuring 3 people, 1 moderately and 2 lightly. 2 rockets also fell in open areas in Ashdod. Several rockets also landed in Ashkelon, including one that damaged the outside of another apartment building. The IDF, meanwhile, hit multiple terror targets in Gaza overnight, taking out another senior Hamas commander in an airstrike. And in a naval operation, an Israeli commando unit carried out a targeted raid from the sea. The IDF saying it destroyed terrorist infrastructures of Hamas and left the area upon completion of the mission. And in the second brief ground operation in Gaza, the IDF said infantry, armored and engineering forces, accompanied by IDF helicopters and helicopter gunships to give them cover, attacked Hamas terror sites overnight last night. All forces returned to Israel safely. And on Israel's northern border, the IDF said Hezbollah terrorists fired from Lebanese territory at an IDF post. In response, IDF artillery forces targeted the sources of the fire. And later today, the IDF shared that a number of launches from Lebanese territory towards Israel were detected that fell on Syrian territory. IDF spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari today, in an operational update for the international media, revealed information, the IDF said, proving that Hamas routinely uses humanitarian infrastructure in Gaza for the benefit of its terrorist activities. Hagari said the group's main base of operations is under Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, with underground tunnel complexes used by Hamas to direct attacks against Israel. Sharing graphics of satellite images showing these command centers, which are also being used by Hamas as hiding places for their own protection, including, Hagari said, right after the murderous rampage 20 days ago.
We have concrete evidence that hundreds of terrorists flooded into the hospital to hide there after the massacre of October 7th. Hamas uses Shifa Hospital as a shield for Hamas terror infrastructure. Hamas wages war from hospitals. By operating from these hospitals, Hamas not only endangers the lives of Israelis, civilians, but also exploit innocent Gazan civilians as human shield.
More response now to the remarks made this week by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, while condemning the brutal attack by Hamas, saying at the same time that it did not happen in a vacuum. Israel's President Isaac Herzog told a French news channel last night of Guterres' statements. In a way, he alluded as if the source of all this evil has to do with the conflict. I absolutely reject his words because there was a sort of implication or even consent for atrocities, for terror. The problem with the conflict, Herzog said, is terror, saying now we have seen the most atrocious example of what terror is all about. Since World War II, since the Holocaust, he said, there hasn't been such a number of Jews killed in one day. The president adding that this coalition of evil starts from Iran. The United States announced sanctions on several people and entities with connections to terror group Hamas. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said this morning, we are imposing sanctions on 8 individuals with ties to Hamas, including those who have played key roles in facilitating sanctions evasion by Hamas-affiliated companies, as well as sanctioning 4 entities for their ties to Hamas and other designated terrorist organizations. Well, the families of the approximate 229 hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza rallied last night in Tel Aviv, calling for more help, for information regarding efforts to return their loved ones who have now been held for 20 days. In New York City's Times Square last night, an empty Shabbat Sabbath table set for the hostages was part of an installation set up by the Israeli American Council and many other Jewish organizations to raise global awareness and generate public pressure to secure the hostages' safe release. Family members of the hostages also spoke at the event, offering a plea for the immediate and safe return of their loved ones. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Friday, October the 27th. Live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 o'clock from New York City's Central Synagogue, followed by Shabbat services from the Hampton Synagogue. At 8:30, we bring you a variety of renditions of Israel's national anthem, Hatikva, the Hope, and other moving music and prayers for the State of Israel. At 9, it's the film Israel Journey. At 10:30, a replay from the Hampton Synagogue, followed by a replay from Central. And coming up next, to look at this week's Torah Portion. And that's the JBS News Update for Friday, October the 27th, 2023. I'm Teisha Bader. Shabbat Shalom. Am Yisrael Chai.